This is Barack Hussein Obama. First off, I would like to thank my main constituency of Muslims, blacks, indoctrinated youth, perverts, baby killers, self-hating Jews, and America haters of all colors for coming together to elect me as the first black Muslim president of the United States of America. Now, as you know, I'm just as much white as I am black, unfortunately. 50% of the blood that runs through my veins is white devil blood. But I identify and associate myself 100% with the black Muslim side of my heritage. My father is a black Muslim from Kenya who got my white mother pregnant and then left her in a wonderful display of third world behavior. This is the ghetto culture I chose to identify with. I chose to go to the Nation of Islam Million Man March rally in 2005 where the great Louis Farrakhan preached genocide against whites and Jews. I chose to become part of Reverend Wright's black supremacist Muslim-friendly church because just like a gay-friendly bar is always overrun with gays, a Muslim-friendly church is always overrun with Muslims. So that's where I felt at home. Now, for any of you who think that I was a traitor to my Muslim faith, rest assured that the only trinity I worship is anti-Semitism, anti-white, and anti-Americanism. I have spoken out against Christianity and its values on numerous occasions. I have made fun of Christians that don't believe in evolution. Evolution is a scientific fact. Look at the members of my church. Look at my wife. Obviously, humans came from apes. But I know my Muslim constituency understands where I'm coming from. None of them have demanded my head be cut off for converting to Christianity. They know I need to pretend to be a Christian to achieve my goals, just like Muslims have to pretend Islam is a religion of peace to achieve their goals. And if you think Islam's a religion of peace, y'all haven't been reading the Quran. Now, all of this has worked to my advantage because none of those America-loving honkies could say anything against me during my campaign, or else the media would call them racist. So I believe that every American should always associate with the most inferior side of their heritage. Another shining example of how this process works is Geraldo Rivera. Geraldo Rivera is a Jew who is half Hispanic, so of course he decided to identify 100% with the Hispanic side of his heritage. He went by Geraldo instead of Gerald, his given name. He became a lawyer for a communist gang of Puerto Rican thugs known as the Young Lords, which is basically the Hispanic version of the Black Panthers. Swell bunch of guys. Now he shills on behalf of Mexican criminals who come into this country illegally, bless their hearts. He tells us to ignore their criminal behavior. He desperately wants them to get driver's licenses, bankrupt hospitals, and increase the third world population in this country. If he had showed half the amount of Jewish nationalism that he did Puerto Rican nationalism, he would have been ousted from the Israel-hating media years ago. But today, he's hailed as a moderate journalist who's given a platform on some of the biggest news shows in America. So remember the key point to success. Always associate with the most inferior side of your heritage. Now, some of you might be thinking, Mr. Obama, I don't have any inferior heritage. All of my ancestors came to this country legally and assimilated to American culture instead of demanding the opposite. I don't come from a culture of drug addiction, laziness, crime. I'm not an illegitimate child. I don't have a chip on my shoulder. I don't listen to rap music. Well, fear not, my cracker cronies. You can also play a part in the corruption of the United States. All you have to do is stand in opposition to every moral value and every form of patriotism that you have ever learned. For instance, you could be like Rosie O'Donnell and become a cheerleader for Muslim terrorists. I would prefer that if you're not already a homosexual pervert like Rosie, that you become one as soon as possible. But if that's not your cup of tea, then at least emulate Rosie by subscribing to 9/11 conspiracy theories or by dressing your children up as suicide bombers. Another way that Jews and white people can become acceptable is by converting to Islam. This is the path that Ibrahim Hooper chose. Ibrahim Hooper is a white spokesman for the Hamas terrorist front organization known as CARE. He exchanged his Western heritage long ago for that ridiculous-looking doily that he wears on his head. And now he works hard every day to make sure Muslims have the freedom to plot terrorism within America's borders without government interference, and to ensure that Muslim Sharia law will one day be the law of the land. So you see, white people can play an integral part in the destruction of the greatest country in history. Yes, they can. And have no fear, my friends. America-hating left-wing organizations are the best-funded political groups out there. Why do you think I had more than triple the campaign funds that John McCain had during the election? And we own the media. We have successfully created a situation where the average American and virtually every organization out there is terrified of speaking out against evil and standing up for moral decency, because they'll be labeled as bigots or racists if they do. If Americans oppose terrorism, then they are racists. If Americans want their borders to be secure, then they are racists. If Americans don't want their tax dollars to be spent on bums who would rather work the system than work for a living, then they are racists. If Americans get annoyed when people stand in the middle of the streets in Atlanta, or when food shrapnel is flying out of the mouth of someone on a bus yelling, "Brasilia, you want some french fry?" Then they are racists. We will succeed by continuing to exploit the generous, well-meaning, trusting nature of the average white American. They and their self-hating Jewish counterparts want so badly to be liked by us that we can do whatever damage we want to this country, and they can't call us on it. They are too afraid of being called racist. We've already successfully duped them into accepting the worship of blacks as the official religion of this country. According to a recent Harris poll, I outrank Jesus as the #1 hero of Americans. Jesus came in as #2. Jesus, I think, has something to do with that religion I claim to be a part of, Christianity. All I know about him, though, is that he was a black man. And, of course, Martin Luther King ranked as #3. Two of America's heroes, Jesus and Martin Luther King, were both assassinated, unfortunately. I certainly hope that's not a trend. That would be just horrible if the same thing happened to me. But anyway, this shows who America idolizes. This shows why the N-word is the only word in the English language that it is a mortal sin to utter. It's fine to use terms like honky and cracker, but nigger is completely off limits. To white people, that is. If you're black, you can say the word nigger all you want. It's like every other word in the music we listen to. See, I'm black, so I can say it. I can say that Jesse Jackson's a nigger. I can say that Al Sharpton's a fat nigger. I can say that my wife Michelle is an ugly nigger. I can even say that I'm a nigger. But if Whitey even says a word that rhymes with nigger, he is banned from the arena of public discourse. White people should not even use words like colored or black. They must refer to us as African American gentlemen. And yes, despite the behavior of the vast majority of us, and what that would have you believe, Africans are indeed Americans, gentle, and men. So no oxymorons there. Now some blacks, such as Alan Keyes, Reverend Jesse Peterson, Pastor Manning, they don't deserve the title of nigger because they don't support our agenda of sticking it to America. I ask you, how are we supposed to be loved by terrorist dictatorships and communist regimes with Uncle Toms like them giving us a bad name? To be acceptable, every American, black and white, must join our machine of intimidation and censorship of all moral values and patriotism. And we are doing very well so far. No one can even make fun of me. I'm just too cool. Even my man boobs are cool. They are so cool, in fact, that I have given them names. Joe and Mo. Now, Joe and Mo might look to the casual observer like a flabby pectoral region, but Joe and Mo are, in fact, a pair of deadly weapons that will lay the smackdown on anyone who crosses them. And believe me, once you get some of Joe, you don't want no Mo. So let's just see someone try to make a joke about me. The only major conservative voices opposing us are phonies. The only true conservative organization that's willing to speak out against us is the Jewish Task Force. We must do everything in our power to muzzle the Jewish Task Force, or JTF. JTF is the group that predicted that the Muslim terrorists would return to the World Trade Center and kill thousands of people. They predicted that on television on September 11, 1994, 7 years to the day before it happened. JTF also predicted my rise to power in 2004. They have video and audio of these things on their website. I would encourage you not to go to their site. And whatever you do, don't join their forum. We must make sure that the Jewish Task Force never gets on national television or enough money to spread their message to wake up the infidels. Because that would mean the end of our agenda to corrupt America, redistribute its wealth, and open it up to terrorist invasions. So tell your friends, do not join the Jewish Task Force and support the Obama administration in our efforts to make moral wrongs out of civil rights. Thank you.